One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Flying down from Nova Scotia today.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
I have a dream that all men are created equal.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Doom Nation, what's up? We're back again. It is Skaggs and the Captain, and you are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast, and we have a great show lined up for you today. But first, Skaggs has some important news for you, Doom Nation.
Yes, we had to put it at the beginning because if you listened to our last episode and you waited to the end, thank you for being such a loyal Doom Nation listener. But I completely forgot to mention this in the previous episode. So this is a project that we have been working on with the Patriot Podcast group, I guess you could call them. We had them on a couple episodes. That's Alan Jacoby, the Insurrection Party, Sergeant Samurai, a whole bunch of good guys. We are launching with them the Patriot Podcast Network. This is going to be exactly what it said, what the title of it is, right? Bunch of podcasts that are politically news-oriented, freedom of speech, and it is going to be exclusively on Roku. Everything else remains the same in terms of Two Doom Men. The episodes will be on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and all the other audio platforms, but we are going to be putting exclusive episodes on Roku on the Patriot Podcast Network. So keep an eye out for that. We have a soft launch date, or what was it that Bob was calling it?
He said wink, wink, March 1st. But
a wink date of March 1st that this will be launching. I have seen the test channel. It looks dope as fuck. It's kind of like Netflix. If you have Roku on your TV, a lot of like smart TVs now. I think your TV has a Cap, right?
I downloaded its Roku channel, so I'm not 100% sure if it's the same thing as Roku that you have in that, the stick that you got.
Yeah, I bought a Roku stick. It's kind of like an Amazon Fire Stick, just so I could, see what we're doing, just to see what it looks like.
Yep.
But most new TVs come with Roku. So if you have Roku and you want to watch some of the episodes on there, check it out. We'll be on there, and it's a new exciting endeavor that we are launching with a couple of our friends. So
there's going to be a live stream that plays on loop. I think all throughout the week. Yeah. Everybody that was part of the Insurrection Party, plus maybe a few more new people that are interested in coming in. The content is going to be huge. You're going to have plenty to choose from, but Doom Nation, we know where you want to be, right here in the shack in the back and on the fields of Vietnam with us. So let's get into today's episode, everybody.
We got a lot of stuff going on. I'm back in the shack in the back, as the captain said, and the news and the hypocrisy just keeps on coming. So if you haven't seen, there is a situation that is continuing to escalate in Ukraine. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. If you want to know the backstory, watch our episode with Scott Horton. I think it was 115. Scott will tell you all about that. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ukraine. We are going to talk about the situation in Canada with the Freedom Convoy and the trucker protest. Captain, I know you have been like a rocket ship ready to launch and explode over what you wanted to talk about today.
With Quincy Brown. We mentioned him in the last episode. He was the gun activist who ended up shooting at a mayoral candidate. Biden says some nonsense that I want to really jump on him about. What else did I have? I had one other thing, I think. Let me check real quick. Oh, we also see Biden's the sanctions that he's a little bit of the information of what Biden's plan is for Ukraine, for fighting Russia. Yeah.
So let's start here. I want to kind of pick up where we left off in the last episode, because the last theme of the last episode was really Canada centric. We kind of talked about the whole convoy and what Justin Trudeau enacting the Emergency Powers Act in Canada Again, we're not Canadian political experts here, but it gave them unique powers that they've only used, I think, 3 other times, and it was during major wars in order to deal with the protests. And we said, pretty sure in the last episode, that this is what government always does, and they enact some emergency powers, and then they make it permanent, and it never goes away. Well, guess what? We were right again. They have decided, and we're going to play it. We're going to play it. They have decided that they're going to make some of the items or powers that they gave themselves in the Emergency Powers Act permanent, right? No one saw that coming, right? What's the old saying? There's what's the saying about there's no I don't know where you're going. Damn it, about the government programs. It's around the tip of my tongue.
There's no permanent program like a temporary government program.
Something like that. Yeah. Basically. So our good friend that we played in the last episode, her name is Chrystia Freeland. She is like the department. She's one of Trudeau's goons. Let's just put it that way. She's like the Jen Psaki of Canada. No, she's not. She's like the Department of Interior Economics. I'm going to get into her a little bit, but let's first listen to what she had to say about them deciding things are going to be permanent. Can you see that, Cap?
Yeah.
All right.
In terms of the financial instruments which our government is using right now to act against these illegal blockades and illegal occupation, we reviewed very, very carefully the tools at the disposal of the federal government. And we used all the tools that we had prior to the invocation of the Emergencies Act, and we determined that we needed some additional tools. Now, some of those tools, we will be putting forward measures to put those tools permanently in place. The authorities of FinTrack, I believe, do need to be expanded to cover crowdsourcing platforms and payment platform and their payment providers. So that is something that we need to do, and we will do, and that needs to be in place permanently. Some of these other tools, like the sharing of information between law enforcement and financial services, and the requirement of financial services to be reviewing their accounts proactively, and the immunity from prosecution that we have provided to them in doing this. These are extraordinary measures that we absolutely believe are necessary in the current circumstances, that are having an impact, and let me also point out, having a peaceful impact. And the other aspect of the financial tools that I would point to as being really effective and important is being clear that insurance on trucks that participate in these illegal occupations and blockades will be suspended. So we didn't have those tools. I don't believe that those tools should be part of the toolbox of a government in ordinary times, but they are necessary in these extraordinary circumstances, and they are having a very clear impact.
All right, so
hold on. First off, this bitch and Trudeau are lucky they're not burning down Ottawa right now. Okay, this is the most communistic social credit system bullshit. This is why I've been in a complete rage in the past week of shocking. Of all the tools we need to keep in place, we're going to keep all the financial tools in place. We are actively going to make our own citizens poor. We are actively going to ruin our own citizens' lives. Your truck is no longer insured. You have no access to your bank account. If anybody wants to give you money or some type of charity is going to come your way, we will stop them, and the people who donate to the charity will be in trouble as well. They are lucky there's not torches and pitchforks outside of the capital right now of Ottawa.
So yeah. What's funny is she sells it as we're only going to make a couple things, only a few things.
Yeah.
from this thing permanent. But I mean, if you look at the actual Emergency Powers Act, that's like the bulk of the shit that it did.
Yeah.
The only other thing it kind of did was just beef up the equipment and the authority of the police to like physically remove you from the area, which again, to the back to blue people, to the conservatives, to the MAGA people, just keep in mind, this is another example of who is going to come to take your rights away. It's the police, right? That doesn't mean that every police is a bastard or anything like that, but just keep that shit in mind. Okay, boss, I'll do what you say, boss, because my paycheck's on the line. It was the police who removed all of the protesters. They were all gone from Ottawa. All the trucks are gone. All the people standing in the street are gone. And she is right. It did go down peacefully. They're all gone, but they were removed by police. And the people, and I guess she was right in terms of they left peacefully or they were removed peacefully. But the only people who weren't peaceful in the whole process were the police.
Yep.
There were countless videos, real quick. There were countless videos of them on horseback trampling people, of them using batons, punching people in the head. Complete police brutality, even covering their badge number and whatnot on their shoulders so that they can't be identified. They were anticipating they were going to have to do some fucked up shit on video. Yeah.
There's the video of them all in the green uniform with the face shields on, and they have no badges and no numbers on. A lot of people are saying that those were UN soldiers, whether I believe it or not. But as far as Trudeau has taken it, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the UN military or if it was anal swabs private military, so
anal swabs private military. They would use giant anal swabs as batons.
Klaus Schwab, I call him anal swab.
I didn't know that. All right, I like that, anal swab. Klaus
and
Schwab.
Where we the people, whether with its protesting, whether what we believe here in America, with the election or anything like that, a precedent has been set in Canada. And we mentioned this last week. Not a single fucking politician from either side of the aisle has really denounced what Trudeau is doing. And we got the American trucker convoy starting tomorrow, and it's going to end on whatever day Biden is giving the State of the Union address in DC. It's, they're traveling from California over to DC. Already they're calling in the National Guard into DC. Already fences are going up around the Capitol. Very strange for the most popular president ever. Every time the man speaks at the Capitol, they have to surround the Capitol with fence and razor wire. Don't understand if he's so popular. Maybe he stole something that he shouldn't have, but I can promise anybody who's listening, I'm sure, already it doesn't have to be said. Biden will do the same thing. I promise you, he has no.
So yeah, you're right. He will, and I guess you could always say, like, why do you care what happens in Canada, right? Yeah. You're right, because Biden can do the same thing, and this whole Emergency Powers Act crackdown only happened after Biden supposedly made a call to Trudeau. It's kind of speculation, but it's been reported that happened, and that Biden encouraged him to like crack down on these protests and get it over with. Because it just looks bad, I think we mentioned in the last episode, like we here are not in the same exact situation that they are in Canada in terms of like the mandates. This was a simple stated goal of we just don't want to be under this federal mandate to be vaccinated. We just want the choice to make the decision.
Yep.
So
go
ahead.
You put it very well. You made the law. We don't like the law. We elected you. Get rid of the law. On top of, someone else also put it into perspective, like 80-90% of the truckers and 80-90% of the truckers who were protesting are all vaccinated. This is really a fight for the last 10%. There's a huge percentage of Canadian truckers that are fully vaccinated, whether you count the booster or not. I don't give a shit. But there's a huge percentage of those truckers and protesters who were vaccinated. This is really just a fight to make sure the last 10% don't need to get vaccinated, or the last 20%, which makes it even more insane.
I don't think it's about even that 10% or whatever the number is. This is just completely, you're not going to defy us. We are going to do what we want, and we're going to tell you what to do. We're going to pass mandates and laws and dictate every aspect of your life, and you are not going to be able to stand up to the state. And they'll use whatever clever methods they can. They'll use whatever rationale, justification they have to do it. Which, in this, they want to continue and make permanent their financial power over your life.
Yeah.
They want to, I think she said they want to control the ability of like crowdsourcing, which is like a tool that a lot of people use in order to go around how fucked up like government programs are. So they want more control over that. They want the police to work more closely with financial institutions, the banks, and she says how they want the bank to be monitoring accounts more closely and be immune to liability for doing so. They want basically to just be able to watch you and control you on every little tiny aspect. And she makes it sound wonderful. She sounds like a nice lady. You know what I mean? Like the way she puts all this. She doesn't sound like Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin.
But she is Adolf Hitler.
But right, because I'll never forget, man. Thinking back to Casey, like Casey Baker when he was on, like these totalitarians nowadays, they're good at marketing. They know that like you can't be a Stalin anymore because it's too over the top and people won't fall for that anymore. So you have to pretend like you are the arbiter of morality and you're doing this to protect sacred democracy and all that.
And go ahead.
Real quick, she even makes a point in there. This kind of goes back to what you said about how she says these are tools that they should not be part of the toolbox of government in ordinary times, but they are necessary during these extraordinary times. That the only reason why this was an extraordinary event at all was because they made it an extraordinary event because they passed a mandate that people disagreed with. And the whole reason these people came to Ottawa and did this protest is just because they disagreed with your policy. As we said in the last episode, the easiest way out of this whole thing was to just take your fucking pen, Justin Trudeau, and undo the mandate. That was it. But no, instead this just proves everything me and you have said for months and months and months. They're just using all of this stuff around COVID as just an excuse to expand state power and restrict your rights and your freedom of speech, your freedom of this, your freedom of that. That's all they're interested in. And I'm going to get into why after too, and who could be possibly behind it. But I want you to make your point first.
But this is, I always laugh. I think I told you privately. I don't think I ever said it on the podcast. I always laugh, back in, Connecticut at the gym I used to go to, I made friends with people, and there was this older guy there that he was always there at the same time as me. And he was trying to become a citizen of Canada. And there was all this stuff going on that he couldn't go yet. He had to be vaccinated, that blah, blah, blah. It was this and that. And I said, why do you want to go to Canada? And he said, well, things down here are getting too crazy. Canada has it right. Boy, does Canada have it right. Becoming full-blown Nazi Germany. These are the Nazis. These are the Nazis. It's to the point, let's, you said before.
And they say that you're the Nazi, right?
Yes.
They've said numerous times during this trucker convoy, they've picked out photos of protesters that have Nazi symbols on Canadian flags.
Yeah.
Those symbols are there because the protesters are trying to say that you guys are Nazis in the government, but they're trying to spin it as, look, they're Nazis. Or I don't know if you saw one of the Canadian MPs in Parliament yesterday said that honk,
yes,
short for Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, what a fucking stretch that
projection
is.
Much, huh?
Yeah,
projection.
Exactly. Honk, honk. It means you're a clown.
Yeah.
Honk, honk. Truck horns that were going honk, honk the whole time. It doesn't fucking mean Heil Hitler. It means the complete opposite. It means freedom. It was an obnoxious way to support freedom.
And as clear and concise as she was, there's no end date to these emergency powers.
Yeah, both parties in Canada voted in favor of ratifying the Emergency Powers Act, which I'm sorry, I'll let you finish, but the emergency is technically over. Everyone's gone. Yeah. After everyone had been removed, the Canadian Parliament voted to basically completely approve the Emergency Powers Act. So, like, why did they even have to do that if it already served its goal and everybody is gone?
Stealing more power.
The only way rhetorical question.
Yeah. The only way you get out of Canada now is by escaping, because there's going to be people that they might never have another dollar to their name. Think about it. Like, soon, eventually, Canada could have a homeless problem, a real bad homeless problem, because you're making all these citizens poor now. You're going to drive them right out of house and home because they didn't agree with you politically.
Yeah, I've seen, I don't know if you saw this, but the mayor of Ottawa is like excited that the tractor, like the trucks, the semis that they repossess. She's like, oh, we're going to auction them off and we're going to make a lot of money for the city of Ottawa. Like they're gloating and they're so happy
because they won.
These are the good. These are the good guys, right? These are the good guys gloating over crushing a protest, seizing, basically illegally seizing, because they just gave themselves magical powers, illegally seizing workers' property and then auctioning them off so that the state could keep the funds. And, oh, this is great. Ottawa's going to, have a lot of money from all these trucks that we're going to sell. Wow, great.
Yep. And it's not going to help the supply chain problem either. And it's going to probably cause inflation to go up higher.
Yeah. So who's behind all this shit, right? And like, it's so over the top. It leads you to think of just, what the fuck? Like, I think it was Bill Maher who was like, I think I said this last one. I thought Justin Trudeau was a good guy. This is crazy. Anyway, so our good friend here, I'm going to share this because I want people to see this. And if you're listening, sorry, I will read it for you, though. Bum, bum, bum. Chrystia Freeland. What is she a member of? Well, what do you know? The World Economic Forum. And not only is she a member of the World Economic Forum, but as so this is the World Economic Forum's website, and it's just basically giving you kind of a rundown of Chrystia Freeland, the woman who I played on the video before. And I highlighted a couple of just interesting notes from her WEF profile here. It says, as foreign minister, she led and successfully concluded the renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. That's a globalist policy. All right. Down here, in 2010, she joined the Canadian-owned Thomson Reuters. We've spoken about Thomson Reuters before on this show. Thomson Reuters is the organization that does the fact-checking on Facebook, social media, basically everywhere they do the fact-checking. And it was, we kind of in detail talked about how they have ties to Pfizer and the pharma industry and stuff like that. So she's involved with them. And hysterically enough, at the very end of her little profile here, in 2020, not that long ago, she was awarded the Freedom House's Mark Palmer Prize in recognition of her years of work in championing democracy and human rights. She is a member of the Forum's Board of Trust. So a woman who is a champion of human rights and democracy and freedom at the same time is advocating for crushing protests, basically cutting off any aspect of you being able to use financial institutions and whatnot. Yes, this is a champion of human rights and freedom.
So this is going to be, it has to be.
You will eat the bugs.
Yeah, fucking anal swab. This is a turning point for us and for this show on how we describe things, to be honest with you. I've been seeing it more and more. We've always kind of talked about it, but we didn't talk about it in this manner. She is a champion of human rights. She is a World Economic Forum of champion of human rights. This crushing protests, destroying livelihoods, illegally seizing funds from your own citizens is, by the World Economic Forum's definition, a champion of human rights. These are the rights they want you to have. No rights over your money, no rights over your life. The same thing with Joe Biden. Everything he's touched has failed. Every policy he's enacted has failed. Everybody he's tried to appoint has been a complete loser nut job. Why? Because these people are actively trying to destroy their country, their prospective country. She's up there. They just the other day, the PM of Canada, that judge guy, I don't know. Like I still don't understand.
I know what you're saying. He's like I know exactly what you're talking about. He wears like an old school robe. He looks like one of those old English guys, right? And he's like the he's kind of like, I guess, the Speaker of the House. He's like
I kind of get that sense.
And it is interesting to see how their shit works, because it's like they sit on opposite sides of the room and they scream at each other, kind of like they do in England. And their parliament system looks almost like they do in England. And that guy is supposed to be like the mediator or the guy who with the gavel and whatnot. So
and there was a question about the World Economic Forum infiltrating the Canadian government, and that question was shut down right away. Can promise you that guy's part of the World Economic Forum.
So that's funny. I was debating if I should add that to the things we watched during the episode. I didn't, because I don't want to overload too many videos.
I know. I'm so mad.
I don't. Yeah, that's a great point. And you gave them too much credit there. They said when that guy brought up the question, that was like one of the MP's constituents wanted to ask the question. So he was a Canadian politician was asking that question about the World Economic Forum on behalf of his constituents. And it was clearly said loudly, like if you watch the video, you can
I know what you're going to say.
You can clearly hear the question. There was nothing wrong with the audio quality or anything like that. And they just shut off like 3/4 of the way through the question and said, we can't hear the question because of poor audio quality. The fuck are you talking about?
So
this just brings me back to Orwell, right? Like the party will tell you to deny what your eyes and your ears hear and see. I heard what the fucking guy just said clearly, and you're saying, no, it can't be heard.
I don't know how a war of some sorts, a revolt of some sorts hasn't started. I saw this quote the other day, and I believe it was from JFK, and it said, oh God, I'm going to have to paraphrase. I knew I should have took a screenshot. Those who prevent peaceful revolution make violent revolution inevitable.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like if you don't give people, right? I mean,
it's right now the people of Canada or the people of Ottawa showed up and they said, we're going to gum up the systems by making these blockades with the trucks. This is our peaceful way of protesting. This is how the Canadian government clapped back at them. So now when car bombs start going off and assassination attempts start taking place and full-on bloody revolution starts trying to take place, remember the truckers were sitting there honking their horns. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, me and you will remember, right?
Yeah.
So
true.
Obviously, me and the captain here, we're not advocating for any of those things to happen or telling people that's what they should do. I honestly don't believe in violence to achieve political means anyway, because it's not a great tactic. And we were gonna kind of talk about what can you really do here. So I mean, if you want to, let's do let's Monday morning quarterback this, or let's see if you did do something like that. If some Canadian people did do something like that, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to crack down harder. And now you're going to give the government every excuse they can to justify further their narrative, which was not originally true, but now you almost kind of made it true, because now you're causing violence. And we've talked about before how they'll use agent provocateurs sometimes to get that to happen. But what I wanted to say here is there's a better way that they can accomplish their goal. And this, I didn't make this up. I thought it was a great idea, so I'm just going to share it. This was a Canadian farmer, and he had a fucking great idea. There was a video of him, and he goes, look, just don't work. Don't go trucking. Don't bring stuff to the city. Don't plow your field. Don't do anything. Don't make anything. Don't transport anything. Just stay home. Do it for yourself. Grow some food in your farm so you could survive. Fuck them. Just don't do anything.
Let the city burn.
Right now, you're going to have the same effect in a way that the. So here's the thing. I think it's a good idea. It's a different way to non-violently protest. It maybe would be harder to pull off because of the optics. Like a convoy of trucks driving somewhere is like a rally, like it's firing people up as it goes. But at the same time, now you've painted a target on yourself, and you can physically be removed. If you just chose to just be like, I'm gonna not do anything. I'm just gonna sit home,
shut the machine
down individually. We're just not gonna do anything, and people won't have goods. They won't have food. People will starve, and that should force government to the negotiating table, right? Because I mean, then what are they gonna do? Are they gonna send the police to your house and force you at gunpoint to plow your field?
Make you a slave, you mean?
I mean, right, they might, right? But now, I mean, you've made them go and do that. You know what I mean? That now you've turned the onus on them. They're coming out of their parliament, and they're coming to your house to commit violence on you. You're really forcing them to do what they're trying to force you to do to them. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, and it's a good idea. Somebody I read on Gab was like, all right, the truckers have to go home. Now the truckers need to completely come together and go on a complete nationwide strike.
Right.
You know,
I agree. That's exactly it. It's hard to organize that though.
Yeah.
When you're not like meeting up in a place the way they did. So
yeah. And well, now that all of your accounts and crowdsourcing is going to be overseen, it'll get shut down before you could even get the word out.
Yeah, you see how that works?
And on top of it, you said, you know, the government's going to have to come out of parliament. That's what this has all been about. That's what the Great Awakening really is. Not to get all Q and conspiracy theory on us, but that's what this has really been all about. Canada, Trudeau, they've played their hand. We know what they're capable of. There's no, you know, the people of Canada have gotten the Canadian government to go past the point of no return,
right?
To commit political and career suicide. You could
use, I guess you could say what Bill Maher said. Justin Trudeau, I thought he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
That's coming from someone who's a super famous, huge political commentator on the left, Bill Maher, right? So you're right. In a way, they've exposed themselves. Of course, there's your stupid fucking sheep with their head in the sand.
That's fine.
But not everybody. Not everybody. The masses are not like that.
Yeah, no. What you see on TV as the small fringe minority, however you want to put it, that's just Trudeau's famous words. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And when you see an iceberg in the ocean, what is it? 85% of it's underwater, and you only see the top 15%. The media is never going to allow it. That's how it is here in America as well. The media is not going to show it. You know, whatever's going on in Ukraine, whether the people are like, there's nothing going on, they're not going to show it. The majority feels the way we do. The majority feels the way the Canadian truckers do. You wouldn't get these turnouts like that if they didn't. To just go back to a Trump rally to a Joe Biden rally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's again, they're telling you to, the party tells you to deny what your eyes and your ears hear and see.
Yep.
But I was going to make a point real quick. Something I heard Dave Smith say recently. And he's like, boy, that really went from small fringe minority to Emergency War Powers Act.
Yes.
And enshrining them permanently because we have to protect the country from this small, fringe minority. Like real quick, like it did. Yeah. Even their narrative talking points made no sense from start to finish. It went from dismissive to now we have to completely uproot every aspect of our society to protect ourselves from these menaces.
Yeah. They've passed. The Australian government is past the point of no return. The Canadian,
much out of them lately.
Yeah, well, because they're probably an internet blackout from them. You know what I mean? The Canadian government has, played their final hand. Think of how much trouble Boris Johnson was getting in, and he turned the dime real quick because sooner or later he was going to have to play his final card and commit political suicide.
So even that doesn't make any sense, right? Because England and a lot of the other countries, including America, right? When we talk about the reasoning is why and whatnot, but a lot of them have eased up on all restrictions. I think it might be today. England, United Kingdom has gotten rid of every single COVID restriction. I'm pretty sure that exists.
So they're back to 2018.
Right, basically. That's exactly what I was going to say, right? So while that's happening in other countries that are, Western democracies, just like Canada. Canada's the opposite way. They're cracking down on protests and keeping mandates in place and whatnot. Some of the states, let's be clear here. Like, I don't want to say this is a complete loss for the Freedom Convoy.
It's not.
They accomplished a lot. First of all, they rallied the fuck out of a lot of people around the world. So that's number one. There's they improved people's morale, not just in Canada, but everywhere. Like, right, we were excited about people standing up for freedom. But also some of the Canadian territories have gotten rid of their mandates, and mostly in, like, I guess you could say, I don't know. Again, I don't know the landscape of politics in Canada, but it's like Alberta. Like, it seems like the places that are like
it's five different places.
Yeah, it's like the country places. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they the
Wyomings and Idahos of Canada.
I do think Canadians are obviously a little bit different than Americans. They're way more polite.
Yeah.
Even a freedom convoy blockade, etc. They were more polite being removed, I guess you could say, than maybe an American, convoy or whatever would have been. I think this was a positive overall, and I want to stress to conservatives who listen to this show and MAGA people, just remember who it was who removed them, right? And just remember, next time a protest happens that you don't agree with, and the police do something like that, yes, of course, circumstances can be different. We could go back to Black Lives Matter. Circumstances were different, right? A lot of those riots and protests burned down buildings and targeted private property. This didn't do any of that, right? But at the same time, just remember who comes and removes people and takes away and restricts your rights, you know? So, look, if you don't agree with you shouldn't have to agree with the Freedom Convoy here and what they stand for to think that what Canada is doing is wrong. And I'll give credit again. I think I did in the last episode. So, like, a lot of the leftists, like, talking heads on, or I won't even call them leftists. That's like extreme. Just a lot of like the classical liberals on YouTube and whatnot. No, they don't like this shit.
Yeah.
They agree that this is fucked up and wrong. Richard Medhurst, he's a liberal, and he made a great point. I was watching him the other day. He's like, could you imagine if Iran or Russia cracked down on protests in Moscow or Tehran in a similar fashion? Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, Macron, Boris Johnson, every one of these fucks would be out there denouncing the attack on democracy and freedom of speech and this and that.
When Cuba had their little mini revolution protest, was it, a year ago?
Yeah.
Trudeau was, this is terrible. We stand with the people of Canada. They need their freedoms. Fuck the people of Canada, but the people of Cuba, we're going to support them over there. We're going to virtue signal for you guys now.
Yeah.
It's,
they don't really give a shit. That's one of the things I'm always trying to stress on this show. It's all a fucking facade. They don't care about anything they say. They just say it's democracy when they win, right? Yeah. It's social justice when it's in their favor, when in terms of like them consolidating more power. That's all fucking is.
That's why I keep saying I don't know how there's not people with torches and pitchforks outside their doors. I'm not saying go do that, but it's getting to a point where I can't believe it's not happening. Because you brought up Black Lives Matter, and we're talking about the trucker convoy. One of several of the leaders of the trucker convoy who were arrested are being denied bail.
Yeah, like the
Kyle Rittenhouse denied bail. But somebody we spoke about last week that I was laughing at a funny story of that has now completely enraged me. I will say it here. The Black Lives Matter organization is the most garbage bullshit organization I've ever seen in my life. Needs to be wiped from the face of the earth. If you don't know that your life matters based whether you're black, white, brown, blue, green, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I don't care anymore. But Quintez Brown, last week, he is a BLM activist and a
anti-gun.
Anti-gun activist.
To be honest,
took a gun and showed up at an opponent's mayoral candidate's office and shot the place up. And he was rightfully arrested. So now the organizers of the trucker convoy, who did nothing wrong, they didn't break anything, they didn't have guns, they weren't doing drugs, they weren't setting fires, they've all been denied bail. A chapter of BLM came together and paid the $100,000 bond to Quintez Brown to allow him to get out of prison. And no one's talking about it. This man literally attempted murder and no one gives a shit. We are to a point now that as long as you're on their side and not even BLM side, just the side that is in power, as long as you're pushing their agenda, as long as your story fits the narrative, you could get away with anything. And you put it best to me when we were texting back and forth. BLM's always been allowed to kill people. How many people died during the violent protests and the riots? Total. Nobody's been held accountable for it. But you show now in Canada, your truck's uninsured. Your truck will never be insured again. You can't go back to being a truck driver. And on top of it, your bank account's frozen. We are going to put you in the poorhouse because you honked your horn. But if you're BLM, I said this too. I said, all the trucking protesters should be rocking BLM shirts and gay pride flags and all that stuff, just because that, you know, make it look like the government's attacking a BLM protest. Why not?
Yeah, that would have been a good, you know, like a Trojan horse tactical thing. Yeah, man, you're right. You know, it doesn't even need to be said. I guess you could say devil's advocate. It's a different jurisdiction, right?
Of course,
it's Canada that you know is now basically turning these people into political prisoners, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's where is it again that Quintez Brown shot this person? It's in America.
I wanted to say Louisiana, but it's not. Louisville. It's Louisville.
You know, devil's advocates, different jurisdictions, but at the same time, we know the fucking deal, right? Mm-hmm. There's an ideological cultural war going on here. As much as other podcasters or people want to ignore that, it's fucking happening.
It's a two-tier justice system.
And that doesn't mean that, in my opinion, at least, that Black lives don't matter. They do, obviously, just like we said, every single human being's life matters, right? If you are in support of destruction of like private property and chaos that gives the state more power, that is allowed. If you are in support of freedom and individual rights for yourself as a person, which, by the way, applies to Black people, right? Because they're human beings, because Black lives matter, right? So you as a Black person have a right to freedom of choice and every right that the Constitution and the Canadian Charter and whatnot enshrines to you. No, that's not good, though. That we have to throw those people in solitary
freedom, right-wing extremists.
They look to tie that with Nazis, with right-wing extremists. They look to say that it was violent. I spent a lot of time during the protests around Ottawa watching YouTube live streams, right? Like, I just popped in every once in a while. People were walking around with their fucking phone on a live stream in the protest, and it looked like a lot of fun. It wasn't violent at all. People were partying, people were dancing, they had speakers, people were feeding the homeless, which is hysterical because they were saying that they were stealing food from the homeless. So, I mean, that's the iron law of woke protection right there for you. There was bouncy houses that people were having a good time in. I mean, and there were not just white people there. There were Sikhs, there was Black people there. I saw all different kinds of people as I'm watching live feed. So that's just fake. They're just trying to tie something to something that sounds bad because that's the marketing scheme, right? The bad people try to tie the stuff that's good to stuff that sounds bad so that you'll do what the bad people want you to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible, terrible direction for the world to be going in, for North America to be going in, at least.
Yeah, the Western world, yeah.
It's never, I could say it's never been like this before. When has Canada ever enacted, emergency powers to take away your bank? You know, when we watched cities burn for an entire summer, but I can promise you, when those truckers show up in DC, with the American convoy, I can promise you, you're going to think it's January 6th, 9/11, and Joe Rogan saying the N-word, all wrapped up in one just giant nuclear explosion.
We have to prioritize, right? You're going to think it's Joe Rogan. We can't say it's January 6th because Joe Rogan saying the N-word is worse, right? So you got to say,
I mean, it's
going to be Joe Rogan saying the N-word all over.
It's basically going to be a hijacked flying 18-wheeler with a machine gun on it of just Joe Rogan Pearl Harboring the Capitol with the N-bomb. Yeah. Just, as 18-wheelers
literally shooting N-bombs.
Yes.
Out of
literally, gun on Joe Rogan's going to be on top of the truck shooting N-bombs out of his mouth on the Capitol in Pearl Harbor style.
Yeah, it's like the Megazord of opposing the government.
Yeah. That's what they're going to make it out to be.
Yeah, man. What a world. Clown world, right? Honk honk. So let's look. We got another gigantic situation going on here, right? And something that we talked about, like I said, go listen to Scott Horton talk about it. The situation in Ukraine has escalated, right? The other day, me and you were texting as this was going down back and forth, and there's been a lot of Putin's going to invade, Putin's not going to invade,
dude. Go
ahead.
To interject. So obviously, like today, Russia invaded, or Biden declared Russia invaded. I don't actually believe Russia did anything. I was actually going to text you before like the headlines came out saying Russia invade, that Russia invading Ukraine is kind of starting to sound like when me and you used to talk about Q and like Anon's like, oh man, everybody's getting arrested. When? Tomorrow. Oh man, Russia's going to invade. When? Tomorrow. Right. That's what it was starting to sound.
That's why I
like.
always thought Q was a bunch of bullshit, and I never gave a fuck about it or thought anything of it because it was always out tomorrow. It's happening tomorrow. You know, the arrests are coming tomorrow. So yeah, so basically, Vladimir Putin has declared, or he's recognized. I think it's I can't pronounce these well. That it's like the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, which are the regions that are in contention in Ukraine. As he's recognized them as like independent nations, and then he said that he is going to send his armed forces in there as peacekeepers. Right. So I mean, I don't agree. Right. I'm going to tell you flat out. Right. I don't agree with him doing that. I don't think it's a good idea. And it is, you know, essentially aggression in some form or another by Vladimir Putin. I've said it before. He's not a good guy, right? We just try and look at everything, you know, critically, right? He's a former KGB agent.
Well,
Vladimir
when you
Putin. Here's something I was thinking of earlier, right? Like Vladimir Putin's not a good guy. He's a former KGB agent. He's probably actually killed people himself with his own bare hands or with guns and whatnot.
Yeah, as much shit as we want to.
Right. As much shit as we want to talk about Joe Biden or Barack Obama, they've killed people, but they haven't killed them themselves, I'm going to say. I don't think Joe Biden has ever taken a gun and shot somebody in the head execution style. He's ordered a drone strike to blow people up. So, I mean, apples to oranges. Yeah. But I'm going to say Vladimir Putin has got up close and personal and murdered a couple people in his life. He's not a good guy. But this whole situation reminds me of something Scott Horton said. And he said on our own show, he said, you're going to take your security umbrella and you're going to bring it all the way up to your neighbor's front porch. And then when that neighbor reacts negatively, you're going to say, see, I told you. That's why we had to be here. That is exactly what has happened here, right?
Can I go? All right. What America has been doing, Tim Pool, one of the first episodes I ever listened to, was talking about this. America right now, you have to understand, and for several past years, the media has been a weapon. The media has been weaponized. The media is a weapon of the government.
Yeah.
And for the past several weeks with this, you know, Russia-Ukraine story, the media has been used as a weapon. Obviously, they're over there listening to what we're saying over here.
Well, what did I say in the last episode? 90% of op-eds were pro-war.
Yeah. Right. So now we are hitting them with medium to low level aggression. Most people don't even know we are the aggressors because they don't realize that the media is a weapon being used. We're using political and media weapons against Russia, and it still keeps it a Cold War. But now these two places declared independence. And I don't agree. I think it was a stupid move that was, of course, going to, you know, initiate, you know, DEFCON 5 and Biden's, you know, brain dead noodle.
January 6th, and just like with the truckers getting violent, don't play into their hands. Yes. That's what Putin has played into their hand here. All it is one evil person playing into another evil person's hand.
Yeah. So we hit them with this low to medium level aggression. Now they stepped out of their boundaries. They're going on to your porch. Now we are justified. They hit us back, blah, blah, blah. Also, I don't know if you were going to bring this up. Did you see Joe Biden saying how, Putin is storing blood and bringing it to the troops on the border?
No, I didn't see this.
Okay, this was another.
Like Joe Biden said this, or was this?
So Joe Biden said, I'm pretty sure he said this. Yeah, no, he said this today. I was reading it today. That they found out that Putin was transporting blood to the men on the border and in these bases. And Biden said, well, if you're not planning to start a war, you don't need blood.
I'm trying to fact check you on this because this sounds absolutely outrageous.
Go for it.
I don't know. It's coming up, but it is Google. So it's a pretty outrageous claim. Yeah, man.
I think I saw it on Fox, if I'm not mistaken.
Go ahead. I'll make my next point here, which is just funny because I've seen Justin Trudeau, obviously Joe Biden, the heads of the Western democracies around the world are obviously they're condemning this act by Vladimir Putin for intervening and messing with the democracy of another independent nation. But what the fuck are we doing, right? What is NATO doing? What did John McCain and Chris Murphy and Amy Klobuchar, if you look at our Instagram stories the past couple of days, man, I went on a rant about that. But we were intervening in Ukraine's internal democracy and their governmental process. That's what we're doing right now, which we want them as part of like the Western alliance of NATO because we want to box Russia in. So we're doing the same thing that we are. It's the iron law of woke projection on a war national scale. So I mean,
here we go.
What do you got? What do you got? You got bloody
CNN. U.S. officials indications Russia has moved blood supplies to Ukraine border. The U.S. has seen indications that Russia has positioned supplies of blood near Ukraine's border. Two senior U.S. defense officials told CNN Saturday, as part of its accumulation of medical supplies, troops, and military equipment in the area that U.S. officials have said could signal plans for invasion.
I mean, what?
Any blood reason? Have you not noticed? And I'm sorry to just jump off the track of what you were just saying. Have you not noticed over the past several years, and even I'm not going to include Trump in it, but everything around Trump was like this. There's all these weird, stupid nuances. Like, you know, I won't get into a conspiracy of World War II, but like America wasn't going to get in the war. Japan Pearl Harbored us. We got into the war, right? Like cause and effect. You bombed our base. Now we're getting into the fight. Okay. Fast forward 2022. They're sending medical supplies to the troops in the Ukraine border. They're going to invade. Like, it's not even like a good like story. You know what I'm saying? Like if maybe like if they were kidnapping or murdering, you know, people of Ukraine that were living on the border. I don't know, something sinister, but sending blood. This is the big notification we're getting that war is inevitable.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. I mean, you know, they just fling enough shit at the wall and hope it sticks, I guess. But at the same time, I'll say maybe, you know, just to keep an open mind here and be critical, I guess they kind of were somewhat right. If Putin has theoretically sent peacekeepers to these regions, it's an invasion, right? Yeah. Let's be honest. He's just doing what they do. He's saying they're, you know what I mean? He's just using the projection on the Western powers, the way that the Western powers use projection for everything they do. They're not fucking peacekeepers. They're soldiers going there to occupy the land so that, you know,
they have a better advantage.
Right, exactly. But then but again, this is on their doorstep. This is not in, you know, on the borderline of fucking Texas and Mexico. You know, I'm against war. I don't want there to be a war. I don't want anybody in Ukraine to die. I think this is all just the powerful elites playing against each other. And we kind of said in the last episode, it's like to most people in America, war is like an abstract idea. It's like Call of Duty. Like I said that in the last episode, right? Like real people are going to die here, but they're going to die because of war games between elites, right? And I think there's got to be some shit behind this in terms of like the Western, you know, democracies are aligned with the World Economic Forum, and Putin is his own bad guy, and he's really not aligned with the World Economic Forum. So there's got to be something there. Like these organizations, these states, they play the long game against each other. It's not like they're just in for a couple of months, you know, thing. They're planning dozens of years of strategy out. You know, how do you think we defeated the Soviet Union? What do you think? It was like we had a strategy for like
it was a lucky afternoon.
It was fucking like 60 years. Yeah. It took us to you know, to basically win the Cold War against them. This shit is planned out, and they don't care that normal people pay the price in all these struggles.
No, they never have
at all because they're insulated from this shit.
They never have. You know, it's conspiracy theory. I have no proof on it. But someone said today, they were like, you know, the reason why Ukraine is so important is that, you know, the Clintons, the Bidens, obviously, people of the World Economic Forum, billionaires, the elites, have used the Ukraine as their corrupt little playground to get away with whatever they want. Mind you, a sitting vice president of America got his son on a board that was being, in Ukraine, that had ties to China, paying them millions of dollars.
What was it, like a gas company?
Yeah,
right?
Burisma.
Hunter Biden has zero experience in the gasoline industry.
And
so I wish I get a job like that.
Exactly.
No experience whatsoever, and I get on the board of fucking directors.
Yeah. And, there was the quid pro quo of Biden in Ukraine. And that's just, the very top ice cube of the tip of the iceberg. You don't think other political families are out there doing stuff? You don't think foreign political entities are out there doing stuff? You don't think every billionaire, every villain, Bill Gates, anal swab, all of them have something to do in there? So the conspiracy is that Ukraine is the one last, deep state, corrupt, NWO, whatever you want to call it, stronghold that could potentially be falling, and it could end up falling to Putin, where Putin doesn't really work with, he's his own villain. There's the World Economic Forum and the NWO, and then there's Putin,
the gangster
land.
Putin, right?
Yeah,
the
crime,
agent,
the daimyo,
right? The daimyo. That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
so they don't want
the daimyo of Moscow.
Yeah,
I like that.
He's the Boba Fett of Moscow. Yeah. They don't want their last stronghold, and I doubt it's their last one. I'm sure it's plenty corrupt, but if it falls to Putin, they lose all that because he's still not going to work with them. It's not like he's going to take over,
right?
And they're going to be like, "Oh, okay, you're part of the club now." He don't want to be part of the club.
Yeah, you could go down a conspiracy theory hole and whatnot, and this is something I always tell you. It's like we don't have to. It's on his border. He doesn't want, he
doesn't want NATO on his border.
Nuclear, capable launchers on his border, right? All of it. We're like doing like X's and O's strategies here for like evil teams. Like both teams are evil, you know what I mean? And we're over here and we're doing X's and O's for it.
Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia
Eagles. Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. And we're debating like tactics and gameplay and whatnot. Again, the Western nations have all condemned this, and this is a horrific, evil act. I mean, how many horrific, evil acts of war are we involved in right now? Right? There's the war in Yemen. We've been involved there. We've completely financed Saudi Arabia's essential war of genocide against the people in Yemen. There's no outrage there from the Western leaders. What happens in Israel all the time is there's no outrage there. We're pretty solidly on Israel's. I don't mean we. I mean like the government here is pretty solidly on Israel's side. The Iron Dome thing that has not stopped since we had the Iron Dome episode. I think it was like episode 69. They're still bombing. They're still bombing Palestine on the regular constantly. But it's not in the news. There's no condemnation there. All the other wars. When I tell you, there's like 7 or 8 fucking wars of terror that have been going on. Mm-hmm. No problem. That's fine. There's nothing to see here, nothing to do there. There's a million little tiny wars of genocide going on in Africa. No one cares, right? It's only
genocide in China. Give them the Olympics.
Right, exactly. No one cares. They don't really care about these things. If they really had honor, if they really believed in what they say they believe, they'd be outraged about all of these inconsistencies or all these things. I mean, forget about even being outraged. They wouldn't be active participants in a war of genocide against Yemen.
Fueling and funding.
Right. If they were really so morally opposed to, one country and disrespecting the territorial integrity of another's. It's all just about power, dude. That's all this is about. And it's like, it sucks that we're doing X's and O's for the Cowboys and the Eagles instead of the Giants against the Cowboys. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks that that's the reality of the situation. But the Giants, we're like the Giants, dude. We're fucking, we're fucking 4 and 14 over here. The American people. We can't do much. Yeah. We're taking L's every fucking week.
It popped into my head. Like, so the genocide in Yemen, right?
Yeah, it's a genocide. That's what it is.
It's been going on for years and years and years, and no one talks about it.
No one. You tell that to anybody, dude. You tell it to any random person, they're not gonna even know what the fuck you're talking. They probably don't even know Yemen exists.
Yeah, and it's bloody and it's violent. What happens like when there is no more people of Yemen to kill? Because you don't just like that's like the ongoing theme of any war. They just don't end. Good old George Bush, set that precedent with a 20-year war. Joe Biden fucked up everything in Afghanistan. Nothing really ended for, the people of Afghanistan. It only got worse. So like once all the people of Yemen are dead, let's say it happens, then what? They're just going to find a new group of people. They're going to fund a new war. They'll go to the other side of the border and start wiping those people out.
I guess you could say, right, this is going to sound pretty fucked up, but they have learned from Hitler's mistakes, right? If you just try and outright eliminate everybody, who are you going to kill after that, right? Who are you going to fight? These powers, man, like they have, it's like let's see, what kind of analogy can I use? It's like they're using a flamethrower on a garden while they're planting more seeds behind them, right? Like they want a constant like crop of people that are being born so that they could kill them. So they could be born so that they could kill them. So they could be born so they could kill them, right? Like if you just kill everybody, then you can't justify further wars forever and military contracts and this and that. But then again, you just go back to people here in America. We don't want to be involved in any of this shit. I don't want there to be a fucking war in Yemen and blowing up people. I don't want there to be a war against the Taliban or Ukraine. I don't care. Just go live over there. Leave me alone. If you want to live under tyranny or Sharia law or whatever, I don't
Canada's
agree
got it
with
right.
it. I don't think it's a good way to live. But who the fuck am I to tell you that? But no, like we go around the world murdering these people and then we're outraged when someone else does it. Not we again. Sorry, not we. The state.
To be honest, though, it's strange that we go around the world, fighting for democracy and freedom and whatever bullshit line they give you to justify what's going on. We should be invading Canada.
Right, exactly.
The people of Canada need to be liberated.
Right, if our moral principles, applied consistently. Right. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be behind that either. Right, because it ain't my country and that's their fucking problem. If that's the way they want to live, then they got to sort that shit out themselves. I'm not going to go and export some more violence to another country because they're having an issue.
The lucky thing about Canadians is we have a very piss poor immigration policy. So just come on down, boys. But,
All right, that's a good.
They just hop the border and they'll be able to vote in New York. We'll give them tax breaks. We'll fund them. These truckers, Canada destroying their livelihood. These truckers are just going to hop the border and they're going to live a great, comfortable life here in America.
And dude, I mean, I think I've said this before, but ultimately, like, that's my vision for America. I guess you could say, like, if I was running for president, right? It's the beacon on the hill of freedom and equality and individual liberty for everybody, right? We don't go there with guns and force you to adopt our ways, but we set the tone and the example. Like, this is a great place to live. Yeah. And if you want to come here and you want to play by our rules, we will accept you. Right, but there's going to be a process to that, of course, and it's the opposite, right? Like we go around the world trying to like export democracy, meanwhile we crush democracy, our own country and individual liberties, dude. I mean, I don't know.
How are there not pitchforks and torches outside their door?
It's. I guess it goes back to what you're saying, man. Like the Great Awakening, right? Yeah. It's happening, but I don't know. I don't think that even would work, right? The pitchforks and torches ain't gonna work because then they're gonna use the police to come after you and bar you from this and bar from that. You gotta do what the truckers did. You have to do what Mahatma Gandhi did, which is basically say, fuck it. I ain't gonna make your fucking salt no more. That's what Gandhi said, right? Back in his day in India, it was nonviolent protest. They basically said salt was like a huge commodity there. Yeah. We're going to make your fucking salt. Fuck you. And that was it. And then eventually India gained its freedom, because of like the movement that he started, roughly. Yeah. I'm not an Indian history expert, but that's what you got to do, man. Just don't play by their fucking rules. Don't fall into their traps. You got to be more tactical. If your first instinct is pitchforks and torches, you're gonna lose. You go up against.
I know,
the state,
but like, there's been so many.
Yeah, oh no, I get it.
You know,
I get
how many peaceful protests
right,
are we really gonna crank out here?
Yeah, I get it. Not necessarily even a peaceful protest, right? Like, what does a peaceful protest really accomplish? You're just standing around, right?
Well, peaceful
can,
protests
I'm not saying
include murder, vandalism, and arson. So
they have a purpose, right? And I'm not trying to put peaceful protests down, right? Like, they have accomplished a lot in the history of the world. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about money. It's all about like reality. And you showing up in a peaceful protest in numbers, can that have an effect? Yeah. But what really has an effect? Like putting economic pressure on the powers that be. And if you do that, if you put economic pressure in a way that's almost violent, then they're going to use that as justification to crack down on you harder. If you put economic pressure in a non-violent way, I think that's a tactic that should be explored more often. Yeah. Like I said, fuck your salt.
All right. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I'm good. I've had a lot of pent up rage in the past week, and I'm sure by the next time we record, it'll be right back up there.
Yeah, man. That's one thing I always tell you. Like this, you always have to be the happy warrior. Like, this shit is annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
And I hate to see like liberty and freedom like losing around the world.
That's what angers me, man.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But don't. It's part of the psychological game they play against people.
Yeah.
They want you to feel angry, and demoralized. We've said that a million times, right? Because then you might take it out on your personal life or somebody you know, right? And then like that shit spreads like cancer to other people. So,
but I mean, to make clear, like you said earlier, the truckers did not lose. And like I said earlier, Trudeau pushed it to the limits and committed his own political suicide. Yeah. There's the only way coming back from this is by force. You know, no one's going to vote this man back in. It's not going to be safe for him to walk the streets. And I'm not saying to go and attack him, but you just destroyed the livelihoods of X number of your own citizens. I don't think walking at the park's really an option for you anymore, pal.
Right, without the police.
Yeah.
To protect you. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see going forward the future of Canada's political landscape. Maybe we'll have to do Canadian politics more often. We'll see.
Yeah, I never imagined this show would just turn into Canada.
Well, yeah, man. All right, it was a movement that rallied a lot of people around the world, including me and you. So
woke a lot of people up. You off. That's all good. But Doom Nation, thank you guys for listening to another episode. Make sure you go out and get Roku and check us out, Patriot Podcast Network, PPN. There's going to be more to come about that. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Give us the 5-star ratings. Give us the little reviews. It all matters. We need your help to keep pushing this forward.
It wouldn't be an episode if I didn't forget to mention something. Follow our backup page on Instagram, 2DoomMen_backup. Our normal page got restricted for sharing false content. They're on an all-out campaign lately to like backtrack old things you've posted in stories or in posts. Of course, most of them that we posted ain't necessarily that they ain't true. It's like, that gray area in between. So our account is heavily restricted right now. Everything I post is barely reaching anybody. So follow us on the backup page for 90 days. We are kind of fucked with our Instagram. So we're going to be posting probably for the next 90 days. Yeah. These stories. And I like to post things in the stories to like show people what's going on.
Yeah. And on top of it, I know we probably should have started with this, but we'll finish with it. We'll start it on next episode. We are now on Truth Social. Our number is 178,490. We still didn't get on. We're still in the waiting queue, but our Truth Social tag is @2DoomMen. Very simple. So
I'll be on there personally too. Probably
test the limits.
Yeah, waging war against morons. We'll see how that goes. So I think my tag, I'm like 170 something thousand in the queue as well. My tag will be Skag. So we'll let you know when that's up and running.
Yep. So Doom Nation, thank you. And on that, peace out.
Later.